Let's start with a young man named Justin Jefferson. You may know something about. There's that clip floating around during the COVID draft where you were celebrating wildly. You don't like to talk about it, but you got Justin Jefferson. You were excited about it. That was
very excited about it, but
yeah.
I don't think to talk about the clip.
You don't. All right. Well, Harry doesn't have it, but if you want to look for Rick celebrating at his home because they were able to
celebrate, just happy that he felt us. That's all.
In your wildest dreams back in 2020, when you made that draft pick, would you imagine that in 4 years later, the wide receiver market would be as such that the top wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, would be making $35 million a year annually?
No. At that time, that wasn't where contracts are going. But you know what? As soon as he got this deal, which is well deserved, I mean, it's like 100 million guaranteed or 110 million guaranteed out of the 140. So, but this is going to get passed up because you're going to have CeeDee Lamb coming in. You're going to have
Jamar
Chase coming in.
Tyreek. What about Tyreek?
The Tyreek is in a second deal. These are first time guys, so they're going to get.
Tyreek doesn't care about that though.
Tyreek, did you talk to Tyreek?
I heard Drew Rosenhaus talking to everyone that would listen about Tyreek.
Tyreek will try to get up there after he was the one that originally set the market at 30 million.
At 30, that's right.
And then I was just reading a clip today, just going through some of the news that Micah Parsons says there's no reason why he shouldn't be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league.
Here, let's start there. Let's start with Dallas because I want to ask you about Dallas because with Justin Jefferson and JJ McCarthy, it makes sense. When you look at the percentage of salary cap devoted to wide receivers, when you have a rookie quarterback, you can pay the wide receiver. And we talked about this the other week. Let me find the page I had here.
Well, that point, but they're also in Philly paying Hurst. But they also gave A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith both significant contracts. So there's ways to make it work.
There is ways to make it work. And you look at the top team. So Seattle actually pays their wide receivers the most. This is irrespective of what happened with Minnesota. Those numbers haven't been updated yet. But I think Jordan Addison's number 2. So it's not a lot of money for the number 2 in Minnesota. But DK and Tyler Lockett make a lot of money. Jackson Smith-Njigba goes on that rookie deal. Then Miami, because Tyreek and Jalen just got repaid. Then there's Dallas, and this was before CeeDee wants to get paid. They're already third in terms of salary cap devoted to wide receivers and nearly 18%. And I bring that up because you talked about Micah Parsons. He can make $35 million a year. That's a few million north of what I think Bosa is the highest paid edge rusher at this point.
Yeah, he's going to make north of that.
Fair enough. And if you say that you think CeeDee has a chance to get 35 plus at wide receiver, and then you have to pay Dak 55 to 60, you're paying 3 guys as of right now, literally half the salary cap. That salary cap will go up. But you can't win like that, can you?
No, well, you better draft well because you're going to have to draft.
And undrafted free agent well.
Yeah. You're going to have to find some low-level free agents, and you're going to have to draft well just so you can fit it all under the salary cap because when they're under rookie deals, that gives the teams a lot more flexibility. We're seeing that out in San Francisco right now. Right. With Brock Purdy and how they're able to pay everybody that they're paying, but eventually they're going to have to pay Purdy, and then you're going to have to make some tough decisions on who you're going to keep and who you're going to play.
So give me the Rick percentages that in 2020, the 2025 season, Micah, CeeDee, and Dak are all in Dallas.
Whew. Now, depending on the cap, Jim, it's not going to be a cash issue with Jerry Jones. So that's
he'll just sell the bus if he needs more money.
Yeah, but it may be how can they fit all that underneath the cap? And if they do keep those 3, then someone's got to go.
Right.
And they're going to have to start, whether it's Trayvon Diggs or who are they going to sacrifice. So, yeah. But there's going to be some sacrifices that are going to have to be made in Dallas. Unless they just structure these contracts so ridiculous that, and depending on how high the cap goes up over the next 3 or 4 years, but it's going to be very difficult to do. I'm going to say this. If Dallas does not win in the playoffs this year, everybody's assuming they're going to win their 12 games like they've done the past 3 years, get into the playoffs. But if they don't win in the playoffs, does the whole thing just implode? Now, they're going to try to keep CeeDee. Probably Micah would be the first in CeeDee Lamb. And then, but do they keep Dak if Dak doesn't win a playoff game?
Well, we're going to talk about Dak a little bit later, whether he's been a guy who's on the rise or is struggling, but you can't win without a quarterback unless Micah can play quarterback. Maybe he can, but that's a question. The other thing I'll ask quickly before we move on, and you agree Justin Jefferson's worth every penny of the $35 million. That's how important he is, right?
Yeah, but the reason why is not only because what he does on the field, but because how humble he is off the field, how hard he works. He is a superstar without that entitlement that comes with that sometimes. I remember when he first came and walked on campus when we had a rookie mini camp, and he was a different than everybody else, you can tell. So, and we got fortunate that he was there when we picked him, but he was so driven to be the best receiver in this league. He's so driven to wear that gold jacket someday down the road. So driven to win a Super Bowl, and he knows with him on the roster gives the Vikings the best chance to win a Super Bowl. But when you can get a superstar player with the humbleness that he has and the drive that he has to be the best, you're usually going to hit a home run.
It's funny you say that because we talked to him. That was obviously the COVID draft. No, things were about to shut down at the combine that year, but we talked to JJ at the combine. And I remember saying to him, because Jamar Chase was the primary show in town. JJ was 1A at that point because JJ played a lot of slot that last year that they won the national title. And I remember when he came on set, he had already run. So he had run sub 4.5, which I was concerned about because I loved his game. And I think he measured 6'1", something around there. And I remember saying to him, man, I'm glad you ran the time you did because I think people will understand just how good you are. Because one of the big questions was, can he play something other than the slot? Would you agree, Rick, that JJ can play something other than the slot?
Well, I think the jury's still out.
but he was incredibly humble, to your point.
Yeah, and I think, but if you go back the year before, he did play outside because we went back and watched all the outside tapes.
That's what he told me to do. He said, go watch my 2019 tape and or 2018 tape and let me know if I can play outside.
Did you do it?
I didn't need to. He proved me wrong. He was much nicer to me.
I didn't get to go on stage with you and interview him.
I asked you, and you told the security guys to usher me away. We didn't know each other quite as well as we did then. You had sugar and beat me up.